What is good, my fellow Starborn, and welcome back to another Starfield video. And yes, the community has voted for the topic of this video, and that is what Starfield gets right. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that partook in the poll and voted. I do appreciate it. But before we get into the video, I just want to say a couple of things. The reason why this video is late is because I got lost in side questing in this game. And I completely lost track of the main quest, but I had to finish the main quest in order to do this video. And clocking in at 205 hours, a little bit over, I finally completed the main quest, and man, what a hell of a ride that main quest is. I know it's a really slow burn, but I think it really pays off. And the deeper you go into the game, the bigger and more ambitious the ideas the game proposes. And I think Bethesda sort of nailed it. They don't always nail it, but I think they've done a good enough job to carry forward their ideas and ambitions that they were going for, and I'm interested to see where they go with this franchise. With that being said, I apologize in advance, but there might be some minor spoilers or some big ones, but I need to talk about these spoilers in order to bring the points across that we are going to talk about. With that being said, to all the Starfield naysayers and the people that genuinely do not like Starfield, this video is not for you. Unfortunately, I do not create videos that bash video games. I create video game discussion videos that are thought-provoking to an extent, and here we give praise where praise is due, and we also criticize that what needs to be critiqued. Now, if you're looking for a video that's going to bash Starfield, this is not that video, and I would advise you get that fixed from someplace else. But yeah, so I'm gonna give a moment for those people to exit the video. But at the end of the day, we are talking about what Starfield gets right. If you're still here, I would assume that you love or like Starfield and you have valid points of critique, which is validated. But at the end of the day, these are my opinions. They are subjective, and you should take it with a number of caveats. And to be fair, this will be chapter 1, what Starfield gets right, and I'll do a chapter 2 on what Starfield does not get right. With that being said, sit back, relax, and let's start off chapter 1, what Starfield gets right. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the setting and the theme of the game, because I think this is of vital importance for the other topics that we're going to cover in this video as well. And I think that once you have an understanding and an appreciation of the theme that Bethesda was going for here, you will find more enjoyment in the game of what Starfield is. So Bethesda asks you as the player the question, what would happen if NASA and mankind reached such a stage of development that they were able to venture into the stars in outer space? Is that not the reality of today? Is NASA and all these other space organizations not trying to venture into space deeper and deeper? So Bethesda answers the question, and it gives to you Starfield with science fiction elements molded into the theme and the setting. Okay, with that in mind, you also have to remember that even though mankind has been living in space for hundreds of years, 300 something years, whatever, they are still in a stage of infancy of discovering new things, discovering new planets. Even though they have major cities like New Atlantis, Aquila, and all that set up, they are still discovering new things, and that is why you get groups like Constellation, you get organizations like List, and all these other settlement organizations. As you traverse this and explore this universe, people are still finding planets that are habitable and building bases on these and settlements and newer cities, because they are still in a stage of development. They haven't fully conquered space. Right now, I know a lot of people wanted Starfield to go in the direction of the Mass Effect approach, where there are sentient alien life forms already coexisting with humans. In this game, mankind has not yet reached that stage, and in my opinion, if Starfield went that direction, then the game would have been criticized of being a generic wannabe Mass Effect. without a doubt. We already have Mass Effect, it already exists, we don't need another one. So that's why I appreciate the setting and the theme that Starfield was going for here, and I think Bethesda nailed it. Now, if you played the main campaign and you finished it, there is a point in which you enter the Unity, because there's a question that I'm sure everyone that played it that has not been answered, right? And that point when you reach the Unity, when you enter the Unity and you ask this specific person this question, that specific person tells you that you are not ready to know the answer. And then they raise two very interesting terms. Is it extraterrestrial or is it celestial? And that blew my mind. And that further cemented the take that I said, that the foundation that Starfield has laid down here is great. That they can take it into any direction. They can take the lore and the story into any direction. We could see down the line, probably with Shattered Space, we could probably see an invasion on a multiversal scale. We could see humans finally discovering alien sentient beings, or them discovering us, or them invading mankind in Starfield. Who knows? So it's a very interesting thing that I'm really looking forward to on how they take this further. And I think, like I said, Bethesda really nailed that theme and that setting in this game. Now keep that setting and theme that I explained in mind, because it becomes relevant when talking about the other aspects that I think Starfield got right. So let's talk about it. Now for this one, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack, but remember when I said that the setting and the theme was important? In my opinion, the story of the main campaign works well within that setting and theme that Bethesda was going for here. Now there are layers to this. Now I've said before, the game is a really slow burn from the start, and the intro and the first 5 or 6 hours of the main story is the weakest point of the game, without a doubt. That is, I do not dispute it, but I will talk about that more in chapter 2. What I want to talk about is the main story and why I think it works. And like I said, there are layers to this. So think of an onion, because an onion's got a lot of layers, so bear with me. So you look at the first layer. NASA and mankind developed the grav drives, which allow them to explore deep space, right? You peel that layer away, hundreds of years have passed, and the grav drives have now become a thing of mystery. No one really knows where it came from or how it was developed, to so much so that there's like even a religious and spiritual connection to the grav drives, which you will experience as you play Starfield, right? Peel another layer away. You have Constellation, a group of explorers, scientists, a bunch of characters that explore the unknown. They ask questions of the unknown. They go out and they explore things, discover new things. So Constellation comes across the first mysterious artifact, and Barrett, which later becomes your companion, has the first mysterious visions as he interacts with this object. Now Constellation is still skeptic about this experience, right? So keep that in mind. Peel that layer away. Here you come in with Constellation as you discover the second mysterious piece of the artifact. You have the same mysterious visions that Barrett had. Now the curiosity has peaked of Constellation, and it gives more validity to what Barrett's experience was. Peel that layer away. What you have at the next layer is, as you and Constellation continue exploring and finding these artifacts, you discover that the artifacts has given you special abilities, special powers. Again, this piques the interest and the curiosity of Constellation, but at the same time it scares them. They don't know whether you've changed on the molecular level, a cellular level, or what is really happening. So now they're being cautious. Peel that layer away. Now you and Constellation have your first encounter with a Starborn, and in my opinion this is where the story really gets going, and Bethesda does not let off the gas pedal here. This is where the story just goes, man, and you need to strap in because you're in for a damn good ride. And now the question is raised, are we alone in the universe? Because remember, like I said with the setting and theme, hundreds of years have passed, mankind has been living in space, but they've never encountered sentient alien beings. And now they discover they have an interaction with a Starborn who's questioning them about the artifacts. It piques their interest, they're becoming scared, they're becoming very cautious. Peel that layer away. As you continue hunting these artifacts, the Starborn are hunting you, right? They are hunting you, you're having more conversations with them, more interactions with them, and you learn that the Starborn are actually human beings from other universes, and this opens the door to the endless possibility, should I say, of multiverses. Peel that layer away. Now you get to the truth of the artifacts. You find out that the artifacts were used to develop and create the grav drives, but that it came at the cost, and that was planet Earth, mankind's home. Now do you see what I'm trying to tell you here? The main story is filled with layers. The more you play, the more you unfold the layers, the more deep the lore gets, the more connections it makes between the Starborn, the artifacts, the universe as a whole, and it all ties into the setting and the theme of what they were going for. And at the end they introduce pretty big, ambitious ideas, and I think within the setting and the theme, Bethesda really pulled it off here. Now, as a bonus to the main story, you have the faction quest, and as a bonus to the faction quest, you have side quests, and these aid in fleshing out and building the universe that is Starfield. Every fact, whether it be from the faction quest of the Rangers, the UC Vanguard, the Crimson Fleet, or the Ryujin Industries, it fleshes out these organizational bodies, these governmental authorities, these police figures throughout the universe. It fleshes them out, right? And it adds to the story that thus makes the universe more immersive. And like I said in my previous video, once you go off that beaten path, once you take that detour and you build your own adventure, it has a snowball effect where you will find yourself jumping from planet to planet, finding yourself in insane quest lines, incredible stories. Now yes, not every story is going to be great and not every story is going to connect with you, but there are great stories out there. All you gotta do is find them, and the game pushes you to find them. The next thing which I think Starfield absolutely nails is scale and detail, and I think I've discussed this in my previous video of why I love Starfield, and that is the concept of making something seem so small and insignificant, but the moment you land on that particular planet, the moment you step through those doors, the moment you board that particular ship, the moment you enter that facility, Starfield blows the balls off the wall with the scale of detail and textures it is throwing at you. It is amazing, and it lends to the story that they are telling at that given moment. The set piece in this game is truly amazing. It is immersive, it is detailed, it is just amazing, and in my opinion, Bethesda has never been known for putting out the most graphically beautiful games out there. And here they really went in with 16 times the detail. Look at the scow, the ship that you board. It looks so insignificant from the outside, but the moment you step into the ship, I was so blown away that the inside of the ship became a character in itself. It was telling a story. The moment you enter that NASA facility, from the outside it looked insignificant. It's just in a desert. You think to yourself, this is bland, this is barren. The moment you got in that elevator and you descended into that NASA facility, it blows you away. It's telling a story. The environments in Starfield are characters in of themselves. They are telling stories. When I enter a specific facility, I see bodies laying around. I want to know. I'm invested. I'm immersed. I want to know what happened. Who did this? I'm reading every piece of information. I'm finding on the laptops. I'm finding on slates. The environments tell a story. They look amazing, and you are fooling yourself if you are saying that these things look 20 years old. They look outdated. The level of detail on the environments in this game blows other games out the water. Honestly, it does. Now, yes, I know not everything looks great, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, but I'll talk about that more in chapter 2. Right now, the scale of detail that Bethesda was able to put in this game is amazing. Even if you're on a rocky planet, the textures of those rocks are amazing. Now, talking about scale, we know that 1,000 planets, it's insane. Most of the planets are barren, but like I said, in the setting and the theme of the game, you understand why those planets are barren. They are amazing. Now, we know that a previous ex-Bethesda dev came out and said that the scale of the game itself was to be smaller. They were about to go with 12 planets, but Todd, Uncle Todd wanted a bigger, more grander scale. And does it work? At times it does, at times it doesn't. And you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna talk about that here, because at the end of the day, the game is not No Man's Sky. However, I see the constant comparisons to No Man's Sky when it comes to planet exploration. And I think a lot of gamers tend to forget that when you land on a specific planet in No Man's Sky, if it's an ice planet, the entire planet consists of ice. Within the circumference that you are looking at in every direction, it's the same with your POIs that you can go and investigate or whatever. But the entire planet is made of ice with the same biomes throughout. And this is where Starfield has the upper hand. On Starfield, if you go to a planet that has different biomes, if you land on one section of the planet and it's made out of ice, guess what? If you land on the other section of the planet, it's going to look different. And this is the attention to detail here that Bethesda gives to the planets just does not get enough credit. Because if you are saying that planet exploration on one given planet that is just consistent of one type of biome is better than a planet that gives you different types of biomes, where given where you land on the planet, the planet looks different. If you're saying that is better, then I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm turning into a bit of a rant there, but what I want to say is that yes, it's a massive 1,000 planets. A lot of them are empty, because if you look at it in the scheme of the setting and the theme of the game, it makes sense and it works. Now, that is all optional content for you to go out there, scan the planets, build your outposts, farm XP, farm money, whatever, grow animals, whatever you want to do. That's all optional content. So why is one game given the pass when the other one that has an upper hand to it does not get it? Make it make sense. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Now let's talk about the ship building mechanics and the ship combat, man. These are by far my favorite mechanics in the game, and I think they are most of all everyone's favorite mechanics. And if I had to rate these mechanics on its own, I'd give it a 10 out of 10, man. That's how good it is. I've lost so many hours in trying to build my ship, and we've seen the community build some crazy things, man, from the Mass Effect's Normandy, from Star Wars to Star Trek to Boba Fett's ship, and all. It's just crazy, man, and it's mind-blowing the creativity that the community out there has. It's just crazy. Now, I'm not as creative, but I think I've created some decent ships. But when you're speaking about the ship building mechanics and the ship combat mechanics, you have to speak about it in relation to the skill tree as well, because the more points you invest in the skill tree, the better the maneuverability of the ship becomes, the better components you can add to the ship, making it more agile, faster, more powerful. So you have to invest skill points into that skill tree in order to make your experience better, and I think that's great. Now, I've seen a lot of people complaining that it doesn't really feel like you're in control of your ship, and that leads me to believe either one of two things. Either you are not playing the game, or two, you're not investing your skill points in the skill tree. Because I know for a fact that with the first ship, the front that you get, it's very stiff. And when you get into ship combat, you'll probably win the first one or two, right? But as the game progresses and you get stronger enemies, if you don't invest points into that skill tree and upgrade your ship, you're going to have a hard time. Now, to me, I play in very hard difficulty, and ship combat is very challenging. Maybe it's a skill issue, but it gets challenging, especially when it's 3-1 or even 2-1, sometimes even 4-1. So in that aspect, I feel like you need to upgrade your ship, and the more you invest those skill points, the better your piloting skills become, the better the feel of the ship as a whole becomes. And I think Starfield and Bethesda really nails that aspect. Now, ship combat is a simple mechanic. It's not too intimidating, it's easy to get into, and here they've maintained the VAT system, so you can target specific components of the enemy ship. Especially if you want to board them, you have to target the engine to disable the engines, and then you can board the ship. And this is another perfect example of what Bethesda got right here, man, because you can have so much fun just taking out ships, being a space pirate, taking out ships, taking the crew out, and taking the ownership of the ships and registering it and selling it. That's what I did. I usually take control of them and then I modify them, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you can lose a lot of hours in these mechanics alone. But talking about ships, let's talk a bit about the controversy which is surrounding the traversal of the ships. And especially one thing that I've noticed is many people saying that they want to fly and land on planets like they do in No Man's Sky. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that you can't actually manually land in No Man's Sky. You're actually just pressing square or X, and then guess what? The ship is landing through a loading screen. Guess, yeah. I think people forgot that. Nah, right enough. In No Man's Sky, you can fly to the planet through the atmosphere, but you can't land manually. Now, I've said in the past that I would have liked Starfield to give the option to the player to actually do that. But I also said the more I play the game, the more I appreciate the fast travel system. And the reason why I say that is because given the scale and the theme of the game, there is so much to do. And realistically speaking now, I cannot see myself walking to my ship every single time, getting onto my ship, manually lifting off my ship from the surface, flying for what is it, 5-10 minutes that it takes to fly through the atmosphere to space, and the same another 5-10 minutes to fly into the atmosphere to the surface in No Man's Sky. Let's use an example. Say it's 10 minutes each. That's 20 minutes to do just that. Okay, now you have to fly to another planet, which I don't know, I actually can't remember. It's been such a long time since I played No Man's Sky. I'd say it takes 15 to 20 minutes. That's another 20 minutes to fly from one planet to the next, where I just need to get to the next point of the quest. That is 40 minutes that I've put in just to flying the ship. Now, I don't know about you, but I would get really bored by doing just that, by spending most of my time on the ship flying from one planet to the next. I don't know about you, but given the scale, if I'm looking at this, given the scale of the game, I can't see myself doing that continuously. Yes, it would have been great to have the option there for the player to do so if they want. Like I said, given the scale and the setting of the game, I can't see myself doing that, because then I would get really bored. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to come into the comments. They're probably going to come at me with pitchforks. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing that Starfield gets right. Alright, now let's talk about the guns and the combat, man. And in my personal opinion, they are a lot of fun, man. There's so much unique action sequences you can pull off given the variety of guns, mixed with the starborn powers, mixed with the effects of Aurora, or blend with the effects of other aid items, man. Oh, you can pull off so much great fight sequences. Also given the option of either first person or third person, so there is a variety there for your preferences. If you prefer third person or first person, I think in first person it's more reminiscent of Mass Effect, but the first person is also really great, and they really refined the system here since they had help from the Doom guys, right? Because you can see it, but I wish the game had more personal executions and more gore, though the blood spatters are fine. With the gunplay, I didn't really invest too much skill points into the combat skill tree, because I felt like the guns were powerful enough. Then come to the guns, man. There is a lot of variety here, like a lot of variety. I saw one of the early reviews that said that there are only 10 guns in the entire game, and that was so disingenuous. There is not just 10 guns, there is a massive variety, from heavy weapons to pistols to laser weapons to, man, there's a variety. And not just that, you can add about 4 modifications onto it. Now there are some personalization items I wish were more present in the game for guns, but yeah, so far it's pretty fun, man. You can have a lot of fun with it. They did get rid of the VAT system, and I know a lot of Bethesda purists, they will not like that. To me personally, it wasn't a problem, as I wasn't a big fan of the VAT system, and the VAT system is still contained into the ship combat, which is fine for me. But yeah, you can have a lot of fun with the combat, and I think it's a more refined system. Not just that, the guns also react differently given the gravity of the specific planet that you are on. I've noticed this, and I see a lot of people don't give this enough credit. So it's attention to detail with such little things that I think Starfield really does great with, and this is one of them. So for guns and combat, it's a lot of fun. It's not the best. Now when we talk about enemy AI, it's not the best, it's also not the worst. But if you've been running into like crazy bugs where the enemies are stuck behind boxes and things like that, then yeah, I can understand. But to me, they can be challenging when they are in number, and they can come off bullet spongy. But enemies with lower levels can be one shot killed with like a sniper rifle or things like that. But the higher level enemies do tend to become bullet spongy. And I wish that the game did have outpost bosses, so you do get higher level enemies there, and they would like be like the main boss. But I wish it was more intensive in a sort of way, but I'll talk more about that in chapter 2. But the verdict here is that guns and combat is a lot of fun. I mean, that's all you really need to know. Then while we are on the topic of gravity, this again, the gravity system is again something that Bethesda does not get enough credit for what they've accomplished here in Starfield. The gravity systems for each planet are unique. Not all of them, but it's really unique, man. It's so unique, it affects the way you traverse the planet, how you walk on the planet, how you jump on the planet. It even affects combat, like I said in the previous topic. It affects the way guns sound, it affects the way our guns feel, the kickback and all that. So it's just a crazy thing that such a level of detail when it comes to gravity is not given credit or given enough credit. And unfortunately I gotta look back at No Man's Sky, because people keep comparing No Man's Sky to Starfield when they say that planetary exploration is better than Starfield. But here again, Starfield has the upper hand when it comes to gravity systems. But anyway, the temples where you acquire the powers, I think those temples, they really show off the gravity system there, the way you can basically float around like Superman or whatever, you know. The temples themselves, yeah, I think I'll talk about that in chapter 2. but gravity system, man, in Starfield, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. And like I said, it's another thing they don't get enough credit for. So yeah, man, gravity system is A for the way. Let's move on to the next topic. Okay, now let's go on to the sound design, which I feel like does not get enough credit, and a lot of reviewers either do not even mention this or they just brush over this. Now, to me, one of the biggest parts of a game being immersive is its sound design. And if a game nails its sound design, man, the game can be epic because of this, because it adds to the immersion, it adds to creating atmospheres, to creating the setting for that particular moment in a story. And Starfield completely nails it, man, whether it's from engine thrusting, stepping into a particular environment that has a setting going for it, and the sound design, it just sounds amazing. From combat to just walking here on the moon and boost packing, it's just amazing. But let me not say anything further, I'll let the game speak for itself. Need I say more? Let's move on to the next topic. The last topic is the Multiverse of Madness, and if you've played the main quest, you know what I'm talking about, because Bethesda opened the door to a very ambitious idea, and that is of a multiverse. And it's pretty crazy, and I think that they've nailed it, especially in the gameplay mechanics. They've nailed it. It's a really smooth transition from one universe to the next, and I see no reviews are mentioning how well this was executed, or people are making no mention of it, or there's also reviews saying that they did not execute it well enough, like Titanfall 2 or Ratchet & Clank. And I don't understand it, because I played that particular mission twice over because it was so damn good, right? So I reloaded my save file to play it again because my mind was being blown. It was pretty crazy, and especially for a game that does not utilize glorified cutscenes or glorified cinematics and QTEs. I think they really pulled it off here in Starfield, because it's a really smooth transition. It's like 1 second with no load screens, nothing. And you must remember, it's loading from one detailed environment to another detailed environment, just like that. And again, they're not getting enough credit for that. But anyway, I think they pulled it off. And I'm excited, since that door has been opened now to a multiverse, and we know Bethesda builds their games to be played for 5 years or more. I'm interested to see where they go with this, man. So the idea of having a multiverse in Starfield, I'm all for it, man. It gets an A+ from me. Okay, and the last thing that I think Starfield really gets right are the little details. Now, the little details are overlooked by so many gamers given the scale of the game. You can't blame them, but once you notice them, they really add to the charm of Bethesda's storytelling, and they can really wow you once you realize them. For example, the Hunter, which is one of the main antagonists in the game. You meet him already early on in the game in Atlantis at the viewpoint. It's at the viewpoint cafe, and he's just standing there, and you can go talk to him, you know. I ran into him as he was walking to the viewpoint cafe, and I went to go talk to him thinking that he's a bounty hunter. Little did I know that this SOB was going to be hunting my ass down. So it's little details like that give me the feeling, and that wows me and makes me think that, hey, this dude was watching me the entire time. That every time I was going to and from at New Atlantis, he was watching me. He knew who I was. He knew what me and Constellation was doing, and he was right there, front and center, in our faces. We just didn't know. So it's details like that that just wows you. Another example is where the NPCs, where you do quests for them, and when you come back hours later, they will recognize you. When you speak to them again, they'll thank you for what you did, which adds to the charm and to the feeling that you've accomplished something. For example, the ground pounder quest, completed that, which was a pretty amazing quest, by the way, with such a great level of detail in that set piece there, which was pretty amazing. After I left that planet and that solar system, couple of hours passed. I was busy doing some other quests and that. I could have jumped to a completely new universe, and guess who I ran into? I ran into Major Mayong, who was one of the characters there that I helped assist in the alliance with the Rangers and the UC Vanguard, where they needed a badass ranger to kick some ass, and that was me, boy. That was me. But anyway, I met her out of the blue, didn't even know it was her, and she raided me on the ship. Told me that I would make a great ass Marine if I ever decided to join the UC Vanguard. You see, it's things like that that just blows my mind, that adds to the charm of the game. But with that being said, man, these are things that can be missed, but I wanted to give credit to it and highlight it. So with all of that being said, and to end of this video, I know I did not include everything that Starfield gets right, like the character customization. I'm sure that we all are aware of that, like the new game plus mechanics, and the fact that Bethesda really embraces their mod community, and they have one of the best mod communities out there. But what I wanted to say is this: is Starfield a perfect game? No, it's not a perfect game, but let's be honest. In today's landscape of gaming, what game is really perfect? And at the end of the day, people need to realize and understand that Starfield is a game that takes inspiration and gaming mechanics and systems from various other games like first-person shooters, space exploration games, space sims, RPGs, all that, and it puts all those mechanics and systems together and meshes them all together and creates one major mammoth title, and that is Starfield. And it does so in a solid way that it works. Now, of course, the game is not going to do these specific elements and mechanics and systems that it pulled from other games. It's not going to do it better than that, because those games, for example, a first-person shooter, its primary focus is to be a first-person shooter. Space exploration games, its main purpose is to be space exploration, so they can put all their resources and efforts in creating that. Starfield is not that, but it is a mixture of these various mechanics. And this is not defending Starfield, but it's come to a point where the hate towards the game is ridiculous. Yes, there's valid criticism to have, but the constant hate of people putting certain features like space exploration with the fact that you have to jump around and there's a fast travel system instead of having the traversal of No Man's Sky and other space games, and putting that in a vacuum and then hating on the game for not doing that exact same thing, or the fact that the game does not have the cinematic camera style approach that games like Cyberpunk have. That is like you saying to Larian Studios, hey, can you create for me a third person real time combat mode, because I cannot get into Baldur's Gate 3 because of the turn-based combat. A studio that is not known for doing that style of games, they are known for a specific style of games, but you want to tell them that they should create a preference for you because other games do that, because that is the type of games you like. Do you see how ignorant that is, and how we as gamers keep on projecting our preferences of other games and what other games do well onto other games that don't do it well, and we want other games to do this exact same thing. So a bit of a rant there, but at the end of the day, Starfield is not perfect. It's not a perfect game, and at the end of the day, this is not a review. These are my opinions, and in my opinion, I think within the confines of the setting and the theme that we discuss, the game works. Bethesda was able to pull it off. And if you cannot get over certain features because you want it to be like specific games where that is the core mechanic, unfortunately it's not going to do that. Like I said, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that is fine. But with that being said, guys, I will do chapter 2 on what Starfield does not get right. So if you want to see that video, guys, do consider subscribing, become a part of the Rampage army, guys. This video took quite some time, and it went longer than I expected, so I tried to cut it down as much as I could. But anyway, guys, thank you for the support. I do appreciate it. And as always, guys, happy gaming and stay safe out there. Rampage out. Peace.